Hello everyone, welcome back to Small Talk. I have so many things to talk about. I'm going to talk about Trump and Epstein file disclosure. I will also talk about CPI and PPI report. I'll talk about Tesla. I will also talk about the shooting that took place yesterday, which was pretty sad. All of this in this video. Please stay with me till the end. I have some very important update to share with you guys. So let's begin. The first thing first I want to talk about is PPI and CPI report. I know usually we get the CPI report first and then we get the PPI report, but this month for some odd reason we got the PPI report first, which was yesterday, and today we got the CPI report. And as per the report, the Wall Street analysts were expecting 0.3% month over month, whereas we got 0.4, sorry, CPI was expected 0.3% month over month, where we got 0.4. It was a little bit hot than it was expected. PPI was wonderful report. Everybody loved it. Everybody cheered it in the beginning at first thing in the morning. However, later on in the afternoon yesterday, all the cues dropped significantly because people realized that PPI data does not necessarily mean the CPI is going to be as good as well. So everybody was waiting for this morning's PPI data to release, and then once the report was received, obviously everybody was almost 100% certain that there's going to be a rate cut, whether it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points. We can discuss this in this video later, but rate cut is absolutely a guarantee at this point, and that's what market is pricing in right after the CPI report came. So I'm going to go over some of the numbers. The year over year was 2.9%, speeding up from 2.7% in July. And Fed's target was 2%, and of course it's a little bit harder than what Fed was expecting, but still that was expected anyway because of some of the tariffs that we have imposed, and also during the summertime, of course, it's peak season for traveling, etc., and that obviously doesn't help. So also, Jerome Powell has been saying that it's going to be transitory, which means transitory over the long period of time, not transitory like just at once it's going to drop like within 2 months sort of thing. So it is transitory and it's going to get better. Also, we have noticed that job reports, sorry, the initial job claims were also have gone up from 235,000 to 267,000, which actually drove the market today. That means that jobless claims are going higher. Inflation is ticking up, though. The jobless claims are also going higher, which means that it's time for Fed to cut rate. It's obviously a very tricky position that Fed is in. They obviously don't know. It's kind of hard to manage when you have inflation going up and you have labor market declining so badly. Then they have to pick and decide what they want to do. So I guess at this point, it'll be wise for Fed to cut 25 basis points. There are other reasons why I think Fed should cut 25 basis points, and I'll go over them in a second. But first, I want to go over the detail of the CPI report. So as I said, 0.3 was expected, 0.4 came out month over month, 2.7 in July, and now it went up to 2.9 year over year. It was obviously higher than expected. PPI report was obviously cooler. Everybody cheered yesterday, but then in the afternoon, the stock market was bleeding because everybody realized the PPI data does not necessarily, reflects the true PPI data as well. Sorry, I had a loss of words for a second. And if you look at the details, I'm not going to read the entire report in front of you, but when I went over the details of the report, the PPI data is mostly benign, which means 0.1 up or down is not going to move the market too much. It's not going to have a big impact on the economy and inflation, but most of the categories were pretty much benign. They were flat, which is a good thing, which is bullish. All I was waiting for is to get like some bullish catalyst so the market can rally. The only main areas where I think it was a kicker was traveling. Like airline tickets were pretty expensive. It was like 5% higher than last month, and also the housing and shelter went up as well, which is also a little over 5%. And I think that's what caused the CPI numbers to come hotter. I know for past 3 years almost, we have been in housing de-inflation or disflation rather, and that has been actually helping the inflation to come down. But I think we have come out of that housing disflation phase, and now the housing price and shelters are going up, which is why it's causing the CPI to be hot. And I think it's going to continue. The CPI going to keep getting hotter in the next few months because of the housing market is kind of rebounding, you can say, sort of. And in this kind of environment, if Jerome Powell decides to cut 50 basis points, then that's going to be a mistake, because higher rate cut means more people can afford to buy a house. And once more people afford to buy a house, that means more demand for housing market, which means price will ultimately jack up, which will cause the inflation again. And Fed doesn't want to do that. So they have to be very mindful of how to cut rate. I know initially I was of the opinion the Fed should cut 50 basis points and then 25, and then maybe, take it from there. But after reading this report this morning, since the shelter and housing market is the main culprit here to give us the hotter CPI data, I think it'll be wise for Jerome Powell to do 25 basis points, take it slowly so that rates don't come down quickly, and then of course more people are gonna want to sell the house, because if you look at the housing market for past 2 or 3 years, there have been barely any house in the market. And the houses that do come in the market, they're, it's like they come and go so quickly. And not that many people are buying houses as well, because people cannot afford the high interest rate. The payments go much higher with the 7-8% interest rate versus if you had 2 or 3% interest rate, And if Fed cuts rates 50 basis point quickly, then that means the banks are going to lower their rates, and more people who are willing and able to buy homes, they are going to go ahead and start hunting for homes. And the people who were waiting to sell their home, because they know that if they put this on the market now, there aren't that many buyers, which means they won't get the maximum price for their house. And only those people were selling who absolutely had to move for ABC reasons. So that's why I think Fed is going to do 25 basis points. I think that will be the wise thing to do. Also, I want to talk about what kind of impact it's going to have on the stock market. Of course, as we saw today, stock market rallied. Everything was green. Well, majority of the stocks were green. Nasdaq went up. S&P 500 rose. Everything looks happy. Market is happy. More investors are dumping money into the stock market. That's the kind of bullish catalyst the market was looking for, because they needed to get 101% assurance that there is going to be a rate cut in September. So on September 16th, 17th FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell is going to announce the rate cut. And in my personal opinion, I think he's going to do 25 basis points, most likely. Now let's talk about Tesla. My God, Tesla had a blasting day today, and rightfully so, because Tesla has announced Pack 3 launch and robotaxi expansion. Tesla just unveiled its new energy technology and plans to expand autonomous taxi services to major airports in the Bay Area in California. So this kind of shows Tesla investors that Tesla is not just a car company, rather it's a company which has much wider spectrum, and they have so many business models to drive the revenue from, and that's probably why the Tesla has been running today. And with the activity that took place today, it looks like more of the institutional investors were buying in Tesla today, and that's why the volume was so high, and the Tesla hit $369 and some change. If you watched my video, I told you last time that the first resistance was $367 and I believe 25 cents, if I remember it correctly. So that first resistance have already been achieved, and then next resistance is $400. If we can, which is like a psychological level, at that point people will take profits. I am one of them. Once it reaches 400, I will sell some of my shares and take some profit, but the rest I'm gonna ride until maybe 500 or $600 even possible. So in my opinion, we have already achieved $367 level, which was pretty critical. That was the first resistance. Next, we're looking for $400 level, which is going to help, which is going to take place, I think, sooner than later. If you have been watching my video, you know that my prediction was that Tesla will be at 400 by the end of the year, or even 450. And I think we are going to hit that very soon, even before the year end. The volume pattern, as I mentioned before, suggests that institutional buying, there was lots of institutional buying interest in Tesla. So it looks like the Tesla is positioned to further gains if it can maintain support above those current levels that we have mentioned before. The combination of energy storage expansion, software innovation, and autonomous service growth gives investors multiple reasons to stay optimistic about the company's future prospects. So that's why the Tesla was running. Now let's talk about Charlie Kirk. A very tragic incident took place yesterday. Charlie Kirk was shot and finally was announced dead at the hospital while he was addressing an event in college at Utah. It was a very sad event. I'm sure you've all seen the video by now. It was pretty graphic and it was hard to kind of digest. But ironically, if you think about it, he was the guy. I feel sorry for him, of course. He's a 31 years old young man who just lost his life, and there's no justification for it. But he was the man who has always been pro guns, and he was saying that it's okay to have guns, and like, I'm just driving the meanings from what he said, like as if everybody else who's dying of these gunshots is just a collateral damage. And before you know it, he himself became a victim of a gunshot and eventually lost his life. I know we have been, US have been demanding, the public has been demanding that these guns need to be banned. There are lots of psychopaths who live in this country who have been trying to kill people, and they have licensed weapons on them. Not everybody is mentally stable enough and capable enough to know when to use those weapons. They're just taking it to the next level. All these mass shootings that took place in schools, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools in the past few years, that has been the pattern. And people have been demanding, someone like me whose kids are in high school, and they were in high school, and one of them is still in high school. I was always scared for my children's life ever since the Sandy Hook Elementary event took place and those preschool children were killed. This has been the demand from the public, and we have been asking to ban guns or to have like very strict criteria for someone to be able to buy guns, but it has not been implemented. And Charlie Kirk kind of people have been endorsing it, that it's okay for the government to give licenses to everybody and for people to hold weapons. And he became a victim of something that he has been pro of, and he has been endorsing all his life. It's kind of sad. It's very upsetting. Nobody should lose their life like this. They can have their opinion, but whoever this maniac was, I hope that government will put him to his or her proper place where he belongs. Now let's talk about the most interesting thing that I want to discuss is Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So the Jeffrey Epstein files have been finally disclosed, and the letter that we talked about in one of our previous video where we said that he has wrote a happy birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein, calling him his friend, and he drew women's pubic hair as his signatures. It's very embarrassing to even talk about these things, but we have to discuss these because these are very important issues. I'm a Muslim woman from a very conservative country. There are lots of topics that are taboos for me to discuss, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you Google the Jeffrey Epstein happy birthday letter from Donald Trump, you can see the picture of it, and it's pretty embarrassing. I'm not going to show it to you guys because I don't think I should. I don't think it's appropriate. So there's like a whole dialogue went back and forth between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. And then at the bottom, right in the pubic area, Donald Trump did his signatures looking like women's pubic hair, unfortunately, and it's gross. And then he denied. He said, this is not my signature. Sorry, somebody else denied. I don't remember who it was. I was reading it, yesterday, day before yesterday. I don't remember the whole detail, but I just wanted to mention this, that once the Donald Trump denied that he has not written any letter to Jeffrey Epstein and he has not drawn pubic hair, Wall Street Journal went to the next level and they actually pulled out some of the letters that he wrote to some of the people, particularly to Attorney General's office, and Wall Street Journal actually showed the pictures just like the way Donald Trump has doodled those pubic hairs signature. The signatures look like that on some of those letters as well. So they really digged deep into the matter and they actually pulled off some of the Donald Trump signatures just to show the public. You can probably search that up on Wall Street Journal as well, and you'll see it as well. So it's pretty gross. It's pretty disgusting that the president of the United States was involved with someone who has been a supplier of young girls to these gross old men. And some people are saying that maybe he was just even a business partner, not just only a client. So there are some things that he said in that letter was pretty gross as well. Like maybe, oh, this friendship will stay young forever, or something along the line, which kind of gives the impression that, okay, the girls never get old. They're always like, we're always able to have teenagers in our custody, in our reach. It's some of those, it's one of those things which is hard to discuss for me as a Muslim woman. So I'm just gonna give you like a brief heads up that you can, and then you guys can just Google it and search it yourself and see how gross and disgusting this whole communication is. But could it be fake? Absolutely. There's always a chance that it could be fake, but Wall Street Journal went really above and beyond, and they have done some homework before they posted this on the different places on their Wall Street Journal newspapers and their site as well. Anyways, this was the update. So what's my plan for going forward? As you know, I'm still holding all my positions. I'm averaging down some of my positions that I held at higher cost, so I can maximize my profit or minimize my losses, because there are some stocks that I'm losing lots of money on them as well. So I'm trying to minimize my loss by dollar cost averaging, and some of them I'm trying to maximize my profit as well. We have seen that recently every company that touches the cryptocurrency, and they somehow they do something with the cryptocurrency, whether it's buying cryptocurrency or investing or holding them as their reserve, have been flying crazy. One of the stock that ran up 5,000%, the other one ran up about 3,000 or 2,500%, and then 700, 800, 1,000% is like no big deal every day. Like some stock is running this much, and it's mainly on the news that they have invested into Bitcoin or the World Coin or other cryptocurrencies as well, or Ethereum or whatnot. Octo ran 5,000%. I held it. I bought it a long time ago. I don't even remember at what point. I don't even remember how many shares I had it. Then I went through the reverse split. Then I had only few shares. So I showed my cost was $75. So Octo ran from $1.45 to all the way $83, which was crazy. I have never seen something like this before. It kind of helped me recover all my money. I was planning on taking a loss at the end of the year on this particular stock, but I was able to recover my money and then some, because I just held it. I was like, okay, either I'm gonna wait it reaches $75 or I'll see what happens to it, because my cost was $75. I know I didn't buy it at 75. It was so high because of the reverse split that did at some point. I don't even remember. So that's what's taking place in the stock market. I'm very bullish on market. I'm always bullish on market unless something drastic happens. Of course, small pullbacks are very common. If there's some kind of war or some kind of outbreak of any kind of disease, then yeah, it makes sense for us to be bearish. But even then, that's not bearish. That's like buy the dip opportunity, because people like to pull their money out in these uncertain conditions. But the smart people always buy into those uncertain conditions, and they're willing to take that chance because they know once the situation settles, the market is going to run, and they are the one who end up making the most money. So therefore, I'm always bullish. Whenever there's a dip, I buy more if I have cash, and if I don't have cash, I just sit there and regret in sadness that I wish I had some cash. I would have bought this stock and this stock and this stock. That's what I do. So Tesla, I'm very bullish on it. 400, as I said, my prediction before the end of the year, or by the end of the year, it could be even 450. If it goes higher, I'll take this as a bonus, but that's my goal, and I think we're gonna hit that goal, inshallah. Also, small cap stocks are doing very well, but I would say trade them very wisely because they stay around for the good time, but not for the long time. So don't hold them for too long. I have made that mistake in the past when I was a new investor, and I have very heavy bags that I'm going to sell at the end of this year and take my losses. So Uber has been doing great. It's well. Bitcoin, we all know my prediction is $286,000 to, I don't know, all to like $300,000 is my prediction for Bitcoin by the end of the year. Let's see if it hits there. But the first goal is 165,000, and then it has to go to the next levels. But my ultimate goal is 267,000, and then 300,000 is a possibility, or 350 is a possibility. So we'll see where Bitcoin goes. Also, Ethereum is running. I don't endorse Ethereum and these WorldCoin and all these other Dogecoin and all that cryptocurrency, because I don't think they have the same characteristics as Bitcoin. I only endorse Bitcoin because I think that's the only real money that has the characteristics of real money, and I think that's the money that we should focus on, and everybody should hold that in their portfolio, not the personalized financial advice. Of course, do your own due diligence, but that's just a friendly advice or opinion that I have. All right, going forward into next week, we have FOMC meeting on September 16th and 17th. I don't know if that's next week. Yeah, I think that's next week. And then we'll see, or maybe a week after, we'll see what the Fed has to do, what Jerome Powell says, whether it's going to be 25 basis points or 50. I think it's going to be 25 basis points, which is going to give market another boost, and it's going to fly high. And I hope no other bad news comes out of any geopolitical situations or within the country. And then I think we're golden to move higher in next quarter as well. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please give my video a thumbs up. Give me your feedback in the comment section below. Excuse my appearance and excuse me mumbling over sometimes, because I don't take notes, unfortunately. I have a habit of just reading the news and then making a video out of my memory. So sometimes I may be a little off with my numbers, etc. But you guys can just verify it. Until next one, take care and be safe and go out and make some money.